Hello, free spirits. Welcome back to another episode of the Flying Upstream podcast. Today, we are lucky to have another special guest, Janine Coombes.
That is right. Today we
Hello, good to be here.
Nice to have you, Janine. We are going to talk a little bit about Janine. We're going to give you a beautiful introduction. We know so far that you're a marketing coach specialist and you offer a service in positioning and offer positioning. Your sweet spot is helping coaches and consultants to earn more from their one-on-one services without slogging their guts out. You have shared the stage with Deborah Meaden and regularly appear on internationally renowned stages such as Atomicon. Um,
Yep.
Thank you. Market Ed Live and You Are the Media. Janine also has a business degree, a postgraduate marketing diploma, and over 20 years of industry experience, including working with big brands like EE, Orange, and Europcar. Janine, welcome again to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Sorry, I didn't realise I was interrupting the intro. That's lovely. Thank you for the welcome.
We love your enthusiasm. You never have to apologize. All right, Janine, we're excited to learn more about your unconventional path. For a lot of us, building our own business seems like such an impossible endeavor. Can you tell us about the pivotal moment when you realized you had the potential to build your own business?
Yes, I think it probably was. I got the inkling because my husband had started his business, and I thought, wow, if he can do it, how hard can it be, really? So there was that, and then I was working in corporate at the time, and I fell pregnant with our first child, and I was intending to go back to work. And then as the months went on from the maternity leave, I thought, no, maybe I don't want to go back to the commute and the hard work and the long nights or days rather. So I didn't go back to work, and I started thinking about what other things I could do. So that was probably the opportunity that I took, and just taking a step back and being able to step out of the day to day gave me perspective and allowed me just to explore.
After you came to that point where you were able to kind of gain perspective and explore, what were the early challenges that you faced in building your business and what did you do to overcome them? Because I think a lot of times it's easy, right? With words are so easy. It's like, I started a business and then I was successful. But what challenges did you face? Because we know that this road is not an
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones for me, and I know this is a common story, is just deciding exactly what I was going to do and who I was going to help. And I think there's a lot of noise about niching or niching. And like the riches are in the niches. You've got to get out there, and you got to be precise, and you've got to be sharp with your niching. And I felt that pressure, but at the same time, I knew that I couldn't make a decision until I've done a bit of experimentation first. So the first few years, I'd say at least 3 years, I was trying things out, and I was, trying to think, gosh, what is my niche? Where do I fit? But I think the only way through that, unless you've got something like a really obvious niche or niche, is you just got to experiment and try a few different things. So that's what I did to overcome it. I think you've just got to give yourself permission to experiment.
That touches on something that comes up a lot, where you say you have to give yourself permission to experiment. And often in the societies that we live in or that we grew up in, there are very strict boundaries placed upon us of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And having the ability to make mistakes, you say giving yourself permission to try something new. It might be a total failure, but knowing that's okay. So how did you kind of get to that point? And was there anything in your childhood that you had to sort of overcome to allow yourself to take this step forward?
Yeah, nothing major happened in my childhood, but what I got a lot of was don't show off. Don't show off, don't boast. That's not what nice children do, and it's not nice for other people if you talk about yourself. And it felt like it was coming from a good place, definitely. But as I've got older, and especially when you've started a business, you've got to talk about yourself, and you've got to be proud of your achievements and your skills. And if you're not confident in your own abilities, nobody's going to want to work with you. So that was a big mountain to climb, and I'm still on the journey of owning my own skills and owning that confidence, and knowing where I need to work on things, but just staying steady and knowing that I'm on the right path, I suppose, and showing off. Like, I love mucking about. I love being on video, which I know not everybody does, but one of my biggest, funnest things I did for a period of time, I ran this video show called The Secret Marketing Show, and it was just the silliest thing, and it was just a joy, and it brought me huge amount of notoriety and clients and things, and that was really a shedding of the don't show off.
Yes, I love that. I love that, because it is true. It depends, on our culture, our background, our parents' cultures, our families' cultures. But a lot of times, we do experience that, where it's like, don't be so loud. Don't express your opinion so often. Don't be bold. Just kind of, fit in. Just be there amongst everybody else. Don't stand out. And I love what you just shared about, shedding that, because that's so powerful. It's like feeling a sense of freedom. It's like peeling back the layers of that freedom that sometimes society kind of like starts to take away from us at a really early age. So I'm so glad that you shared that. I would love to know, has there been a particular book for you that has impacted your decision to become an entrepreneur, that could have inspired you, that maybe can help other listeners?
There is a book that I read that was really pivotal in my journey. I don't know whether I'd recommend it. It's a weird book. It's called 4 Hour Work Week, and I can't remember who wrote it now. Sorry, maybe you've heard of it. It was an international bestseller, and it was partly about productivity, but partly what stuck with me and what really made me take action was there was a bit in it that made the point that we spend more time researching the next car we're going to buy or what next holiday we're going to pay for than we do thinking about the rest of our lives and what we want to do with the rest of our lives. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so true. Like, how much time do you research the smallest little thing that's going to be in your life for a month or less, or something like that, or a car, it might be a few years, but the rest of your life, and you just don't spend any time. You just get on the hamster wheel or the treadmill, and you're just on it for years and years and years until you die. It was a real wake-up call. There was an exercise in there where you pick an outrageous goal, like something crackers, like you just couldn't even believe, and you had to write it down, and then it got you to break down 5 little baby steps that you could do to take in that direction. And I didn't set up my own business, although now I'm thinking that should have been what I put. But I put be the lead singer of my own band, bearing in mind I have never ever sung in public ever. So I put be the lead singer of my own band, and the next week I was meeting the members of my new band within a week. Because it was so easy. Like, it felt ridiculous writing it down, be the own, and it was like, what's the one thing you could do? Right, put an ad on Gumtree. So I did, and I got a saxophonist, a bass player, a guitarist, and a drummer. We started doing really bad gigs.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love how you were able to shift your mindset in such a significant way. I think people often struggle with that. It's hard to escape what we grew up with, right? Where it's like, don't be too loud, don't brag, all of these things. It's sometimes hard to escape that. And I can so appreciate this giant leap that you took where you thought it was completely ridiculous to be the lead singer of a band. And then a week later, you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is really happening. I love
Yeah.
that. And I have to imagine that that approach put you in the right mindset to then move forward with what your business is today. And I'm sort of curious to know in that thread, what other, or were there different sort of unconventional methods or strategies that you used to continue to build your business?
Yeah, the longer you are in the entrepreneurial world, the less, well, this is a personal thing, the less I feel like a rule breaker. Like, to begin with, I was doing all sorts of wild and wacky things, and then you go along and you see lots of people doing so many different things. You really can just forge your own path. So the wackiest thing probably was the secret marketing shows. It was a sketch style, dressing up as children and grannies and men, and like it was a bit weird. It was a bit weird looking back. I mean, at the time I thought I was genius. I thought I was like, wow, I am a comedy genius. And I got really good feedback, but looking back, I'm like, they're too long, they're not edited very well, the point is not very good, like looking back I can see where I would improve it. But that is probably the most unconventional thing I did. And moreover, it was because I was sharing them on LinkedIn, and not many people were doing the LinkedIn video 7 years ago. So that felt very against the grain, very brave. I thought I was very brave.
Yeah. And you know what, though? You made a entrepreneurship as like the biggest challenge. Basically, it's like a constant evolution of self. It's like constant growth. It forces you to grow. And so when you mention looking back and being like, oh, these are, these were not good enough, not long, but could be better edited. I literally feel like that is the journey of being an entrepreneur, is just looking back and being like, I could have done that better, that should have been better. But there's so much growth that comes from that, right? It's looking at every single aspect of you that comes up in that journey and deciding what you get to do with it. Am I going to improve it? Do I love it just the way that I am? Or do I want to become a different version of it? And I think that's such a beautiful journey that can kind of, at the beginning, like you mentioned, feel like we are rule breakers. But then once you just become a rule breaker, like you mentioned, to you in your world, you're not breaking the rules and you're not doing anything like spontaneous anymore. But I think maybe for someone coming from like a corporate environment, they'd probably be like, oh my God, she does like such crazy stuff on a daily basis. So it's all about perspective. And I would love for you to share with us just some wisdom about, what it takes, about what really it feels like to kind of be able to create your own life as an entrepreneur, essentially.
Yeah, it's important to remember and express gratitude for those elements of the life I've managed to create, because you can forget, can't you? You're so used to it, you forget how privileged it is. But it's just, like, for instance, I've started to go on a fitness boot camp down the road midday on a Wednesday, and for the day, just going to take an hour out and I'm going to go into a boot camp. I can pick up my kids, I can go to meetings with the school, absolutely no problem. Go to conferences. Like, I go to a reasonable amount of conferences, at least 2 or 3 a year, and just meeting people and talking to people. And there are business opportunities there, but it's just fun, and you get to decide how to hang out, you get to decide how to do your marketing. I think that's one of the things I do with my clients is I'm not the kind of consultant who says you must do this, and this, and you will get results, because you don't know. It's like, well, what plays to your strengths? Where do you like hanging out already? Like, if you're on Instagram and you love Instagram and you already know how it works, then promote your business on Instagram. It makes no sense to suddenly go to Pinterest and learn a platform from scratch. So just the flexibility, but it's also, flexibility can be a trap in its own right, if you know what I mean. It can be a challenge because you've got so many options. If you can do anything, where on earth do you start with that? So that's part of the joy and the challenge.
Yes, and I think one of the challenges with flexibility is that, you know, sometimes it can be hard to motivate yourself, you know, when you know that no one is expecting anything from you. Sometimes you need someone to listen to you and bounce ideas off of. And those are all things that are built in when you work for a large company, but when you're doing your own thing can be really challenging. I'm curious to know what that experience was like for you, and was community part of your support, and did that play a role for you?
Yeah, I think I was very lucky to have found a few groups to become a part of, and they formed my community, and I'm still part of those groups now and memberships. And like I say, the conferences I go to, they tend to be there's two that I go to, the same ones every year. Atomicon and You, the Media, where I actually spoke at when you read out the intro at the beginning. And I think that's so important, because I do hear of people who work for themselves and they feel really, really lonely, and they're having to make all of the decisions themselves, and they've got nobody to bounce ideas off. And it's lovely if you can work with a coach or a mentor or somebody like that. You need some pals as well. You need some buddies to just let you know that you're not going crazy. And a lot of people I know, they say, I want to moan about what went wrong to my family or my husband or my, friends, and they don't get it because none of them work for themselves, and they just don't get it. So community is a huge part of easing that transition from, if you've been employed, to going self-employed. I do think you need some friends.
Yeah, that is beautiful and so important. So that's sort of how Kristen and I came together, in a sense, is we were a part of this community where we were learning something new for individual. We ended up being accountability partners in an accountability group.
Oh, brilliant.
It's so beautiful. What can happen is we get to bounce things off each other and grow. And it's
Yeah, you need
absolutely,
that feedback, don't you?
yeah, absolutely. I'd love for you to share with us, anything that in your industry specifically, because I think, at least personally, and I don't know if Kristen shares the same opinion, marketing for me, when having my own business, is one of the hardest things. And so I like bow down to people like you, and I'd love to share like if you could share some wisdom or some of the conventional rules that you've had to break, or that some of your clients have had to break, to be able to find success from a marketing perspective in their own businesses.
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice I can give listeners and watchers is, first of all, to make yourself feel better that marketing is massive. And what most people think of as marketing is only actually a small part of it. It's people, whenever I say I work in marketing, people say, oh, advertising, or oh, social media. And I'm like, that is such a small part. The most important part is the bit where not many people actually refer to it as marketing. It's the strategy. It's like, who are you serving? What are you helping them with? What are you going to offer them? How are you getting that offer under their nose? Sort of comes later down the journey. Those bits have to be in place. And people think of marketing as, when we say, oh, we've got to do more marketing, what we mean is we need to be sending more emails, doing some advertising, going and networking, PR, those end of the cycle things, those tactics. We need the strategy in place first. And I think we've lost that word for it. And marketing has now become a word that we mean, what you actually see and how you communicate. It's the communications. You've got to do the strategy first, the decision making, and the clarity piece first, and that's marketing as well. So that would be my top tip, is just take a step back, put down the 5-day challenge, step away from the webinar, and just decide actually who you're targeting this year and how you're helping them, and get clarity on that first. So I think that would be my absolute top tip. But with regards to like rule breaking, I think it's I don't know whether this counts as rule breaking, but it's being brave enough not to get sucked into the noise that happens online about what you should be doing with your marketing, and you need to do it this way, or you can't miss out on this, or you must do LinkedIn because it's the place to be, or you must use this new channel or this new technique. Like, there are no shoulds when you're with your own business, and you've got to keep it streamlined. You've only got 2 hands and 1 brain. So do yourself a favor and just stick to fewer things, do fewer things better rather than lots of things not very well.
I so appreciate what you're saying right now, Janine, especially about, 2 pieces of it. One is that the stress of when you become an entrepreneur and you open your own business, you don't really know anything about the rest of business. You just know what you do, right? So for example, Louise and I started this podcast, and we love what we do. And I don't think either one of us wants to be super gung-ho about social media, for example, right? But we have to, we post, we do the things, but that's not our passion. That's not our area of expertise. But when you become an entrepreneur, you're sort of forced into becoming this involuntary expert in everything, right? In finance, social media, all these things that I really have no interest in. And so I think what you're saying is so appropriate, which is start at the beginning, right? Who are you selling to, right? Who is your avatar? Take the time to create a full persona, do your research, talk to people who you think would be your target customer, really get to know them. Because without that, you can't define your own niche or fit into a niche. You're just kind of floating all over the place. So I really appreciate your advice there and what you're saying.
Oh, good. Yeah, I agree with you. That's what you said are the best things you can do. Get clear on who you're targeting. Research. Nobody wants to ask random people for their time for 20 minutes to talk to them. But by golly, you won't regret it. And once you get going, if these people are your ideal clients, you'll get so many insights and you will love those conversations. So research is another top tip if you want to nail your marketing.
Love that.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I love that. And also, I feel like, without the research, you're like talking to no one, right? It's like, if you don't have someone that you're talking to, then you're talking to no one, because there's no specific person that you're being able to center your message around. And so thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, pleasure.
Okay, so what are your future aspirations for business? What are you secretly ambitious about that you're working towards, that you want to share with the audience today?
Oh, secret ambitions. I am writing a book at the moment. So that is coming out in a month or so. I mean, people might watch this whenever. So if you go to easy-yes.com, you can either get on my wait list or buy my new book. And I'm more writing is in my future. I'd love to do more writing. I love writing. It's one of these weird things that I found joy in. I didn't realize I liked doing it or was good at doing it until I started my own business, and I actually had time to lean into it and explore it. So more writing books for my business, and I'd love to do some comedy writing of some description. But what that will look like, I do not know. I keep saying this. My friends will be like, Janine, you've been saying that for like 3 years, get on with it. It'll come. Yeah. Next year.
Yes, I'm so excited for it to come. I've just posted the link in the notes there in the comments for everyone to go click on and check out your book or get on the waiting list. That's really exciting. Thank you for sharing that. And I do hope that you write that comedy book because we will love to have you back and share about that when you do that too.
Yeah, that really will feel like I'm breaking the rules, because it's why are you writing it? There's just no point to it. It's just for pure joy.
That
Yeah.
sounds like so much fun. That's the only way to live life, is just to do things for pure joy.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, and there you have it, free spirits, a powerful reminder that sometimes the most unexpected experiences can lead to incredible transformations. To learn more about Janine and her incredible work, be sure to visit her website at janinecoombes.co.uk. We'll also put her info in the show notes. You can also find her on socials and link to the website in our show notes and our YouTube description.
And don't forget to follow us on social media for more inspiring stories and valuable insights. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you, Janine, for coming on with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been brilliant.
Of course. And free spirits, as always,